Hello friend, it's BorasLegend. It is time for a new video on our channel with some advanced defending techniques. This is going to be divided into 4 parts. We have formations tactics, we have high pressure techniques, low pressure techniques, and finally also of course 1v1. Let's start out with the formations and tactics, and before you do this you must understand what is the meta in this game. In FIFA 20 the meta in the attack is to find a striker, turn and shoot. And most opponents, they will have somebody up front like Ben Yedder, Cruyff, R9, Son, etc. Somebody with a 5-star weak foot. And if he finds the pass to the striker, he can just turn to any side and shoot. And from there you are in big danger. So you want to stop this pass to the striker to every price. That's why we're using here a formation that can really make sure that, it's going to be compact in the middle. And the best in FIFA 20 is definitely 4-2-3-1, and overall something that has CDMs instead of CMs. Because if you have CDMs, you can use cut passing lanes, which will really help out the midfield to cover up in front of the center backs to simply, drop down and cut these passes to the strikers. And this does not work with the CMs. So if you have a 4-4-2 flat, you will not have this instruction available. So yes, cut passing lanes and cover center for the midfield, just to make sure that it's going to be safe in front of the center backs, and also here for our cam. And the cam here is a key. He's also going to come back on defense to help out the defensive duo here on the midfield. And the reason why is that we don't want to expose our CDMs too much. So the opponent will start to pass around on the midfield, trying to find that pass into the middle. And we don't want to step up with our midfielders, because then of course we're gonna open up some gaps, and that is exactly what the opponent wants. But how can we then pressure the ball holder? Well, the key is, yes, like I said, the cam. That's why he's gonna come back on defense, and he's gonna be responsible for applying pressure on the ball holder. And also when it comes to the custom tactics, you don't need something radical. You can just use, I'm using this is pretty simple, balanced 5-3, and width on 5 I think is perfect, and the depth here, you don't want to either drop too low down, because you want to still be able to apply some kind of pressure, and you don't want to pressure too high up either, because then of course when you play somebody skillful you might get very exposed in the defense. So I found out that the 3 was pretty much a sweet spot, because you can still apply pressure and you are very comfy and stable in the defense. Alright, now we have the tactics ready. Let's check out our techniques in the game. First out, we have the high pressure technique, when the opponent does not have established pressure play. And here the key is, to always show presence. So we always want to go forward towards the ball holder and show that we are there, and we want him to force to make a pass. At the same time, we're scanning the pitch and looking for the open spots and open gaps. And the second key here is the right stick switching. So you see here that we have spotted here that the gap here is in the middle. Most likely wants to find a pass back here to a striker. So we're ready here. You see here our right thumb. We're making here this right stick switch, and we can easily here just intercept this ball. Just doing some switches here between these players. But the idea behind this is to always show presence, always scan the pitch for the gaps. In this case we see, okay, he has his striker here standing pretty freely. We want to be there, but we never overrun, we never expose ourselves. We're just there to make him stress and to force him to make a passing error, but we're never trying to do something stupid, never a slide tackle from the back, nothing like that. We're just there to show presence. And again here you see that we have a huge gap showing up in the middle. We're scanning the pitch, we see, okay, this is the gap, and the key again, the right stick switch to close down this gap. So we have here, you see here our right thumb, right stick switch to Ramos in this case, and we are going to intercept the ball easily again. But also a great technique is a sprint switch, and with this we're just pressing his player. We are trying to make him panic, trying to make him rush a pass. In this case we're using here our fullback Emerson to press, and we're just sprinting towards him, and in the middle of this motion we're cancelling this push with a right stick switch to a player here that we think will cover his next pass. So in this case Emerson is pushing, we're gonna switch here to our center back Carlos, right stick switch and close down this passing option. So yes, we're there stressing him without risking anything, without overrunning, but just cancelling this push with a right stick switch. And that is really a fantastic high pressure technique in FIFA 20. But simply always show presence and use the right stick switch to be one step ahead of the opponent, and try to simply read the gameplay, because when it comes to high pressure play, it is all about trying to read the opponent's patterns and sometimes also force him into certain patterns and certain passes. So yes, try to be one step ahead, but do not guess. Wait for him to expose himself, and then you can be ready with your active player. But now we have the hardest part about the FIFA 20, and that is to defend when opponent establish pressure play on your side of the pitch. And there are some things that you have to think about, of course. The first thing is very obvious, is to always cover the mid and try to scan for these passes into the middle to his striker, simply to cut these passing lanes. But one great key that you can use is to utilize the offside trap, and this is something that is a bit advanced, but that works like a charm, because very often your defensive line will get a bit out of order. They will drop down very low, and also they will not be in a straight line. And this phenomenon can of course make it very easy for the opponent to find something into the box when your whole defense is dismantled. So yes, when you use this offside trap, just press your D-pad down, down, and then they will simply push up and they will keep a straight line, which will make your defense a lot more compact. It's going to be a lot harder for your opponent to find something. But when you use this offside trap, never ever do it when your opponent is facing towards your goal. He has to be standing either to the side or preferably with his back towards your goal, because otherwise, of course, he might come 4 versus 1 against your keeper if your offside trap fails. And this, of course, it takes some kind of multitasking and some kind of practice, that you want to be able to cut the passing lanes and still try to scan your defense at the same time to see if they have a straight line or not, or maybe if there is a big gap created between your midfield and your defense, and also at the same time, of course, see how your opponent is standing. But also what is important, and that's why I said with the 4-3-1 why it's so good, is that you want to try to utilize your cams in the defense instead of exposing your midfield. And you want to also, of course, apply pressure, and you want to do this with somebody else than your midfielders, because they need to be there. Very often they need to be there to just cover this pass into the box, which is the opponent's main game plan. So instead, we're trying here to use our cams in the defense to simply press the ball holder while our CDMs are cutting off here the passing lanes and staying and covering up for our center backs. So yes, cover the midfield, cut off these passing lanes into his strikers using the jockey and the speed jockey with your CDMs, and at the same time try to use the offside trap if you notice that your defensive line is getting too deep. Offside trap is perfect. And finally, try to use your cam as much as possible in the defense to put some pressure off the shoulders of the CDMs. And finally, we have the 1v1 in FIFA, which is sometimes a bit tricky, but there are some keys that you have to think about, and that is to keep distance, hold down L2, do not rush, do not overrun it. Keep the perfect distance and wait for the opponent to expose himself. And do not use contain. If you want to use contain, of course, it works, but you will never become anywhere better than average on FIFA. And also one thing that is important is to not either overuse the standing tackle button. Sometimes and very often just holding down the jockey L2 is perfectly good enough to make a good tackle, and you don't have to risk anything. Because if you do a standing tackle and you miss it, of course, you can expose yourself, and you can also cause a penalty kick against you, or just simply open up a space for your opponent. So yes, try to just use L2 as much as possible, and only standing tackle if you really have to. And very often in 1v1 you also have to think about your surroundings, what is happening around you. So my opponent, does he have any dangerous runs going on? What do I have to do in this case? So yes, hold down jockey and wait for the moment to push the ball holder. So in this case here, you can see that he is gonna have the chance here to pass the striker. He makes one bad touch, and this is the moment when we actually push. We did not get the ball here, but still we're showing some great presence and we can stop this attack. Again here, he has one player on the run, and we pushed up here our center back, which means that we also have to get down. So if you push up, also get back in position. The priority is always to cover the through ball and the dangerous pass. There's always priority number 1, and then after that you can start to apply pressure play. And we're gonna end this with a very dangerous sequence. Typical, maybe you've seen this in Champs. He gets the ball like this with maybe Cruyff or somebody with a 5-star weak foot, and what the hell can you do here? I mean, yes, this is extremely difficult, especially with this current gameplay with the input delay that is always present. And this is sometimes, well, a complete nightmare. But again, just try to stay to these rules, try to keep a fair distance, hold down L2, wait for his movements, and then when he makes one bad touch, you have the chance to make this tackle. But stay calm, do not panic. If you panic, he's gonna score here for sure. So keep calm, keep the distance, hold down L2, and wait for his move. Be observant. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did so, make sure to drop a like. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, until next time, take care.